Hello everybody and welcome back to another vlog. This time we're reviewing the next episode of The Legend of Korra, Season 3 Change, Episode 8, The Terror Within. So let's just get right into it. I think my first note I had when they were recapping the last episode was kind of funny. The guy was naming all of the people's names and I was just like, yep, that lady, And I knew I was not going to remember a single person's name in the anti-team avatar. Which I realized or have figured out now, and I don't know if they have ever actually said this in the show, but Team Anti-Avatar is called the Red Lotus. I don't remember if they ever explained that. Maybe they did in the very first episode when they were talking about the criminal organization. I just didn't remember, but that's what they're called, the Red Lotus. I kind of like calling them Team Anti-Avatar because that's basically what they are. But, alright, so the episode begins, and I actually kind of really like that Korra has learned metal bending quickly, and mainly it's because she's terrible at everything else that she tries to do. She was always very good at the physical or the more hostile, offensive kind of bending. They established that several times throughout the series. First when she's trying to learn air bending, and second when she's struggling to do spirit bending or whatever they called it. So it kind of makes sense that she picked up metal bending quickly, and I actually really like that they did that. Bolin, on the other hand, I still think it's kind of funny that they're trying to get him to do metal bending, and based on the predictability of this season and this series in general, I'm doing Korra. Based on the predictability of this series and this season, I expect we'll get to like the last or the second to last episode, and something really bad's going to be happening, and Bolin's going to have to metal bend it, and he does it because that's like the most predictable, cliched thing they could do, which seems to be the route they're going with the storytelling this season. So anyway, I have a note here. I just love the emo metal bending artiste kind of guy, and I wish they would show him off a bit more. His face when the twins were crying because Opal was leaving, I thought was awesome. It was really good, and I wish we could see more of him. Just as a comedic, I think he really works well as a comedic release or effect or character, however you want to call it, because he's not a big character whatsoever. He's not even a secondary character. He's like a tertiary character, and I like characters like that. I don't mind tertiary characters who just are one note. So I thought he was funny. I'd like to see more of him. And then, once again, I still want to know how the fuck Zahir and his group found out that Korra was at Zaofu. They don't explain it. I don't get it. They didn't explain it whatsoever. It makes no sense. I mean, I guess we find out when we learn what happens at the end of the episode. Maybe he was in contact with Aiwei, but that they don't indicate that whatsoever when we see him doing like the meditation and then he finds out where Korra is. I don't get it. And do we ever know why they actually want Korra? Did I miss that when they explained it? I just know that they're after her, and they were apparently after her before. But why? Did they say why? Can someone tell me? Did I just miss why they said why they're trying to go after her? I don't get it. That being said, the way in which the armless waterbender, whatever her name is, because like I established, I'm never going to remember any of the people's names except Zahir. The way in which the armless waterbender used like her ice to cut the hole, I thought was really fantastic, and I love. Although I have a lot of problems with this season, what I don't have a problem with is kind of the inventive ways they're having bending be used. And I don't think we've ever seen something like that before, where a waterbender will freeze the water and use it to cut open like a hole in the window. Maybe Katara did it at some point, but I don't remember. So I really liked it. And then my next quote is, not quote, but then my next note is, "Aw shit, the Beifong family saves the day," because when Korra and Mako, or not Korra, but Mako and Bolin and Asami, who does nothing on her own but stand there, when they fail to do anything, you get Lin and Suyin and the twins, and they just form the metal prison, and they get shit done. However, how does that one guy do lava bending? Because I would think lava bending would entail having to bend fire as well as earth, because, I mean, would that not require a combination? It confuses me, because if any other firebender was able to just lava bend if they knew how to do it, would we not have seen other lava benders before? I don't think we've seen any in either series except for this one guy. He lava bent earlier in this season, and then he does it a second time as well. I believe this is the third time we see him do it. But how does he do that? Is he doing it in combination with I don't even think, do they have an earth guy there on their team? They have Zahir, who's wind, they have Combustion Girl, they have the water chick. I guess he would be the earthbender, maybe, Is he an earthbender? That's somehow lava bending? How does this? How? I don't. They don't explain it. I like it. I don't get it because the good thing about bending, at least in the first series, is, and they spent a good chunk on one episode explaining this. Iroh actually is talking about it with Zuko in the first season. He explains the 4 different kinds of bending and explains how they do it and how it works and the spirituality about it. And that's what I really liked about bending, because even though it was this fantastical, non-real thing, they tried to explain it, I think, as realistically as possible, and it worked really well. But then we have this series where there's just tons of shit that's going on, and there's a bunch of different bendings, and Zahir being the amazing airbender, and it just fucking still doesn't make any sense, and lava bending, and they don't explain it at all, and it's just, it just leaves me... I feel like I'm being told to just suspend all disbelief that I have just to watch this, and I only do that when the show has, or whatever I'm watching or participating in, I will only suspend my disbelief like that to that level if the show has earned the right for me to do that. Like, if this was the first season, the first series, I get series and season mixed up so much. If this was The Last Airbender, and they had that Zuko episode with Iroh explaining it, and then they had lava bending, and they didn't explain it, I would have suspended my disbelief, because I would have expected at some point them to explain how that happened. Because, you know, when Toph did a metal bending in the first series, they didn't explain it right away, but we did get an explanation of how she did it. She was controlling, you know, the little earth fragments in the metal, and it made sense in the context of how they argue bending makes sense, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But I just don't, all of these weird, kind of like, weird bending things that they try to bring up this series, I wish they would explain it. If they would just explain it, I would probably be so much more on board with Team Anti-Avatar. But they're not, and I don't even think they're trying to like hold off so that there's kind of some kind of payoff later on. I don't think they're doing that. I think they're just not explaining it, which is a bummer. But anyway, that's my little aside on the lava bending guy that annoyed me. But you know, my complaint with that aside, that whole scene where Korra is being kidnapped, the animation and the fight scenes is just amazing. Like I don't know how many more times I can say it, but the fight scenes this season, and this series in general, it's animated so well, and I wish the story was as good as the animation is, because then we would, if it was, we would be reaching the Last Airbender levels of awesomeness, but it's just, you have the animation which is just so far above where the story actually is, and it really, really disappoints me. So, the kidnapping ends up failing, of course. And I think it's funny that Lin immediately turns on her sister and is like, "How could this have happened, Suyin?" Blah, 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 blah. I was like, "Oh, Lin, I love you so much, you silly girl." But that being said, this is the episode where I say that being said a lot. That being said, I did like seeing Suyin kind of channel her inner Lin, or her inner Toph, or her inner Beifong, when she yelled to begin searching all the guards, and then when she confronts that one guard that Ai Wei says is lying. I kind of like that she was exactly like Lin in that moment. I thought that was really good. But, speaking of Ai Wei, the second that after they finished interrogating the guy who was guilty, and that Ai Wei suggested that they not go and question him again after they searched his apartment, the second that happened, I immediately realized he was behind it. Of course, you know, it didn't help that they showed his face and they, like, kind of darkened it, and they made him make that little smirk, and they showed Mako being like, "Rrr?" Like, they... Don't be so obvious about it. This is my biggest problem. Stop being so predictable. If they would have cut out that, like, the last 20 seconds of that scene and not given us any indication that he was actually behind it, and then we don't find out until they're actually at his apartment, and then something else happens because they couldn't have searched his apartment if they weren't suspicious. But if we don't find out that he's the traitor until the actual moment that he betrays them, it makes the reveal so much better, and it's like kind of like juvenile storytelling. I feel like what we're getting right now, it's very simplistic, it's very obvious, it's very predictable. I don't like it. I miss, like, I was talking to Howie and some other people who watch Avatar, and I like to bring up my favorite moment in the first series is when they drop hints about the White Lotus throughout the entire series, like, you know. Iroh ends up meeting with the White Lotus guys when him and Mako are on the run, and then, you know, we have Sokka and his swords how do I say that, swords master or whatever I guess you want to call it, his teacher, he has a kind of White Lotus, and they vaguely reference it with Master Paku when Katara's training in the Northern Water Temple, but then the payoff is when you realize they're all together, like they're all in the same unit, and they all are awesome, and they go in free Ba Sing Se. Like that is like the best moment of the entire series in my opinion. And there's nothing even remotely close to that happening in any of the series or any of the seasons of Korra, and it's written by the same people, so I'm kind of confused as to what happened. I can't even say that it's because they only initially planned out one season, because they did. Because the first season even wasn't really that great. It was better. I will say it was better than the last two that we got or are getting, but it still wasn't anywhere close. So I don't understand. Anyway, getting back on topic to the episode, we then have the conversation between Varric and Mako, which I thought was hilarious, where he explains how he would be setting somebody up, and he explains exactly how he did it to Mako, and I'm glad he called out that Aiwei was obviously a traitor, because anybody with half a brain should realize that, but, so then after that, the rest of the episode is utterly predictable. Oh no, Aiwei was bad all along. He says something cryptic to Korra, and then he gets away, and Suyin, she's upset that someone betrayed her that was so close. Korra's dumb and decides to try and go after him despite everybody trying to tell her that you're an idiot and that's a bad idea. It doesn't seem to work, but then, oh no, who would have thought at the end of the episode, somebody, and it turns out to be Suyin, like one of the adults decides that she was right all along and we should go after them. And then the episode ends. So, it's just predictability after predictability after predictability after predictability, filled with just plot holes that they don't explain. And I don't understand, because I keep hearing people say, like, this is the best season of Korra yet. And I was like, no. The Amon, or not the Amon, I call him Amon, but it's Amon. Side note, there's a character in StarCraft 2's lore called Amon, and he's like this big bad guy. But then in Korra, his name is Amon, and it's spelled exactly the same. So anyway, the Amon story I thought was really good. Maybe not as good as The Last Airbender, but I thought it was pretty close. And I read something, and I can't remember where I read it. I don't know if someone said it in the comments, and if they did, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to say this is my idea, but I read somewhere else what I'm about to say, that it felt like the series should have kind of been in different orders to how it was. This season should probably have been first, with Korra learning airbending. The order was, Book 1 happens first, with Korra trying to learn airbending alongside the spiritual stuff. And then at the end, because she's still new to it, and thus it makes sense why she would make such a stupid decision like leaving the spirit portals open. Which, side note, we have heard nothing about the spirits and what they're doing for like half of this season, when they made it seem like it was a huge deal. So I'm kind of curious what the fuck's going on there. Anyway, but the order would have been Book 2, Book 3 happening now, and whatever happens at the end, and then Book 1 happens, because you have the spirit portal has to be opened at the end of what is now the first season, and then the second season happens, which right now is the third season. So it goes, spirit portal gets opened, more people become airbenders, and thus season 2 happens with this whole storyline. And then it ends with Book 1 happening, which then makes more sense why Amon and his anti-bender movement would gain more steam than it would how it happened normally, because you have all these new airbenders, and they'd be doing all of this stuff. You have idiots like Kai stealing people or robbing people with airbending, and it would give credence to Amon's, his propaganda. And you have the spirits, and you have, Amon, who's just basically anti-Avatar all the way. It makes sense because, look, the Avatar opened up the spirit portal. What a fucking stupid decision that was. Come join the Equalists. I feel like that would have been such a better progression of the story, but alas, we didn't get it. So, even though I had my complaints this episode, it's actually not nearly as bad as some of the other episodes that we've had this season. I'm just confused why people think this season's like the best one. I don't get it. It's just, did they turn off like their brains? Did they turn off like their critical thinking skills just to be like, look at the pretty bending, woo? I don't get it. I don't see how people who are a fan of this, not even the lore, but the show, I don't get how people can just sit there and accept kind of some of the nonsense that they try to give us and not be like, well, what? Wait, hold on. You didn't explain that at all. How did that, what? That's how I constantly feel like I am when I'm watching Korra. It's kind of like, wait, how does Kai know airbending that well? How does Zahir know airbending that well? What is lava bending? How does that work? Wait, hold on. So now Korra opened up the spirit portal and it just only made airbenders and no other kind of bender? Why? What happened? Ugh. It's just all too many questions. It's just, I don't... Hopefully there's a big payoff at the end of the season. There's only, 5 episodes to go, and they're all going to be online. I guess I could talk about the little announcement that we found out about. It's not little, it's big. Nickelodeon's pulling all of the rest of Korra from TV, and is the last 5 episodes. This one, The Terror Within, was the last one they're going to be showing on TV. I always watch my episodes on anyway, but, whatever. So this is the last episode that's actually going to be shown on TV, and all the other ones are going to be online only. So, the creators, whatever their names are, I can't remember off the top of my head, have said, Korra's not canceled, the last 5 episodes are going to be online, and the next season apparently is already either in post-production or completely done, so it's too late for Nick to just pull that completely because of contractual obligations. They didn't say that, but that's the implication. They said that Season 4 is still going to be happening. Supposedly there's a purported Season 5 they're trying to do, but based on this information, the report about Season 5 was before we heard about all of this. So I don't think there's going to be a Season 5. I'm actually kind of surprised there's a Season 4, but I guess I don't know the legalese and all the contract stuff, so I don't know if Nick absolutely has to air it somehow, or if they're trying to just give online a go, because, there have been series that have been successful just being on an online platform. I'm trying to think of the one from Netflix that I don't watch that everybody watches. House of Cards. It's Netflix, right? Wherever House of Cards, whatever system that's on, House of Cards is really popular. I don't watch it, but I hear it's very good. I probably should get around to it, but I feel like if they did it right, Korra could be successful again, because it's just not being successful on Nick. Maybe it might even be better if Nick just drops Korra and some other company or other network or something tries to pick it up. I would love, maybe, I don't know, Cartoon Network or Adult Swim try to pick it up and maybe make Korra as it is now, but a little bit more violent. I think it would make more sense if it was a little bit more violent. It'd be more realistic. So I don't know. Let me think. Let me know what you guys think about all of the shenanigans I had said in this in the comments below. And I'll see you. I believe they're only releasing 1 episode a week now online, so I guess I'll see you next week for episode 9. But until then, keep watching, because I don't think the series is bad. I just think it could be a lot better, which is something I think a lot of people don't understand. When people like me and others criticize stuff like this, a lot of the time we're not doing it from the perspective of, this sucks and it should be gone. It's more like, we like this and it should be better, so that it's better for everybody, I guess. So, there you go. I'll see you guys next week for the next episode, episode 9. And yeah, until then, farewell. Keep watching Korra, and let me know about all of the things we talked about in the comments below. Thanks, guys.